Bonjour, bienvenue, welcome one and all to a live stream with my dear friend Stephanie Mitchell Hughes. We've termed this live stream to be called Resilience 2.0. It has successfully charted her, I don't know, fall into COVID, coming out the other side through toxic working relationships, and now has become a bit of a lantern, a bit of a way finder for people to reassure the world that there is a path through. So we call this Resilience 2.0 because it is the second attempt at trying to attain normality. And this particular one today is about signposting where we're going to go next. It's sort of a bit, first of all, a quick retrospective.
Mm-hmm.
When you first started on this mission with me, it seems like a long time ago, many months ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was originally to chart your progress, how you'd
Mm-hmm.
come through not just the infection, but also that you'd were retreating from a toxic relationship through a relationship that had obviously gone bad, through trying to work your way through coping with both children and also a work-life balance that was way out of whack. And on
Mm-hmm.
top of that, on top of everything else, uh, at the very best, indifference. At the worst, frankly, both racist, misogynistic, and unpleasant working practices that
Yes.
eventually, on top of COVID and everything else, paid to be able to continue in that lifestyle any longer. Have I covered it?
Yeah, at that, and also depression, suicidal thinking.
Hey,
Hi.
BJ, how you doing?
Hi.
Cool.
And the whole suicidal ideation and all of that, my whole trek through the whole thing. And
But
just
but there's good news. But there is good news because we're now at a point where we can be retrospective without feeling like we're about to dive back into the abyss.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I've never said really on this channel before, but I have a form of long COVID. I have been a hospitalized with COVID. I still suffer. I've actually had a fairly tumultuous weekend with it, and
Mm-hmm.
and just so that other people understand it, and I'm going to say from my perspective, and you say what you. It's like trying to work your way through things with quarter your normal intelligence, with your head full of cream cheese mixed with cotton wool, with pillows wrapped on your hands, with
Mm-hmm.
people asking you to do stuff and think stuff and produce stuff, and your response is, huh? And you don't know. Pretty much.
Exactly. I mean, because that's the other thing that I've got the whole long COVID. I mean, we both have this experience. And I have been over the last several weeks just pushing and pushing and pushing myself. Mine is the overwhelming, flattening fatigue. And it's like trying to push like a huge rock uphill, but just completely flattened. And it's like one of the probably maybe a good analogy with the whole long COVID and especially the fatigue thing. Everything, my son said this to me last week. He said, everything that you do, every activity that you do over the course of a day will either add to or take away from your ability, your bandwidth, your spoon, so to speak. And it's true. It is so true. And I am flat out exhausted.
So
With,
in the UK we have this expression called CBA, and which basically when you get to a point when you can no longer deal because you're just no.
no,
Uh,
I am
that-
so done.
and you're just CBA, which is you can't be asked. There's just your body will not manufacture the energy and the wherewithal to get up and put that saucepan over there and fill it with water, or get the macaroni and mix it with the cheese. Nothing is going to work. Uh,
No.
People need to know it's in internet terms it's 404 not found. There's nothing going on here. Don't please don't try and engage. It ain't going to work. And and the problem with it all is it's a disease that doesn't outwardly. I don't have
Yeah.
lesions. I don't walk with a limp.
Mhm.
I'm not constantly moaning. Oh, my COVIDs are hurting. It's there's nothing like that.
Mhm.
It sort of destroys up here. It just makes you just feel useless and tired and a little bit lost. And I think because people expect so much of you, and you
Mhm.
and me, we both have expectations upon us, and it's just very hard to match up to those expectations when you're in that mode, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I just am here doing the best that I can. Earlier today, I was trying to log in for a Zoom call that I scheduled. And I know I scheduled the call, but then when it was time to log in for the call, I didn't see it on my calendar. And then I couldn't even figure out how to find the sent section of the email account just to make sure
Stuff that would
that, and
normally
the
take you 10 seconds to do,
I
right?
mean, it just, yeah. And I'm like just sitting there, and I had already emailed the person who I was having the Zoom call with just to make sure she had gotten the invitation. And after about 5 or 10 minutes of this whole thing, she wound up being kind enough to send me the Zoom invitation just so that we could have a meeting, which was an important meeting. But we're talking the equivalent of just tying your shoes. This is where we are.
We can laugh about it though, because
Because
it
it
is
is, it's
ridiculous.
like, I know I've done this like only a million times before, but I just can't even tie my shoes
But
today.
I think we both think it's something to do with air pressure or a
Yeah, or
change
it's
in
got to be.
season.
I don't
Yeah,
understand it,
yeah.
but I,
But,
all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, I started having migraines last week, and I'm like, okay, what are we? So
but
we're just in.
it is like that though, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
it's
am absolutely certain that perhaps the same time next week I'll be fine. I'll be back to normal. I suspect that given a week or 2 weeks, your migraines will have gone, and there'll be a thing of the of the past, and you'll be back to knowing exactly what's what and being sharp as a tack again. But I think this is part of the journey. But really, this channel has not just been charting our result, our reaction to that. It's also about talking about workplace resilience, about
yes.
resilience overall, um, and also working out. I mean, because of your background, particularly in the legal profession, how although there is an increasing number of workplaces that will give support to people who are struggling one way or another, whether it's mental health, whether it's
Mhm.
the results of long COVID, which between you and me seem to have very similar uh, presentations, you know, um, and but there are an increasing number, but it's still very lackluster overall, right?
Right. I think so. I think that we had the wonderful conversation with Amy Wilson from Channel 4 in the UK,
Absolutely. Big
and
up Amy
about
Wilson. That
the
was very good.
awesome work that Channel 4 is doing in this area. And I think that there are companies, organizations within the United States who could learn something from what Channel 4 is doing. And
They're doing incredible things. They've got
right.
specialist rooms that you can go to if you need to quieten down and you're feeling overstimulated. There are people within the organization that you can go to talk to them about your mental health, knowing you won't be judged. I think that's the biggest problem. I think, especially in a legal
Oh,
institution.
definitely in the legal profession could definitely learn something from Channel 4. But there are organizations in the country, just like when we talk to Mike, who's an attorney here, and his organization and and the type of work that he's done. It's what he's the is it the human
It's the good. Oh my goodness. You see, this is very bad preparation, Stephanie.
exact well, and I call it long COVID. It is. It's long COVID. I'm sorry.
That's
It's
all
long
right.
COVID because
It's all
I
right.
know who this is and I know who Mike is and I know what he does, but we're all sitting up here just lost,
So
lost in a
while
sea.
you talk, I'm gonna find it. Don't you worry.
But
Um,
yeah, but Mike and the work that he's doing, um, you know,
it was actually. bu- 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 Okay.
oh wait, here we go. I couldn't put my hands on my phone.
Okay.
In addition to Mike, though, we had Dr. Kamani,
That was very good. That
who
was
came
excellent. In
on
fact,
and was educating us, educating people who watch about the toxic workplace and about toxic workplaces specifically with respect to African American and women or Black women,
well,
and what that has what has happened or is currently happening and how people are finding ways to recover.
I'd love to have her back on. She was
Yes,
what I would
but
really like to do is to have a kind of round table with you, me, Dr. Kamani, and also Coraline Turrentine, who is
yes,
who in her organization, Resilient Leadership, has actually done some amazing work to do with
absolutely.
creating level playing fields so people can learn and do better.
And so that but those are the we have had some outstanding guests come on. We've had Chris Cummings come on from Wellbeing at Work. We want all of these people to at some point come back, but we are going from where we're headed next and what people should expect next are we're going to see some replays and we're going to start seeing replays, snippets of the conversations that we have had with Mike, with Chris, with Dr. Kamani, with Coraline,
And we'll
and
be
some of the
asking, and we will be
conversations that
asking,
we have had.
we'll be asking questions as well as putting those snippets out. We'll be going to
Right.
try and spark conversations, try and spark enthusiasm to talk about these topics. Um, and it's all very well for us producing this content, and it's great, and it's lovely when people both either come to me and say, I've been watching it. I don't really want to make comments myself, but I do love the content. Well, we want to try and make it so it's more angled towards stuff that you want to hear about. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but within this sphere of doing better, of finding ways through, of being resilient, of finding ways of making the work life balance such that it's not such a tortuous issue that it becomes almost natural. Uh, I would like to cover topics as the potential for a 4-day week. I'd like to talk about I'd like to talk about evening out the wages between the sexes. I would like to talk about everything to do with, for instance, um, genders and the provision of bathrooms and so on in the workplace, and should they be unisex, or in fact do we need to cover have specialist bathrooms for each, that sort of thing. I would also like, and Stephanie will find this vaguely amusing, to do a little section on how the youth should be taught about cleanliness when cooking and preparation.
Well, we will both. Now, if we start talking about kitchen and cooking skills, I will wind up having to move out of my own house because the subject, the person who we've been discussing behind the scenes would see this and then we'd move out. I'd have to move out. So
Okay.
we're gonna but tell everybody because I don't know a good way of summarizing what they need to look for.
Okay.
Coming
Okay.
up
I
this
can do this.
week,
I
and you
can do
may
this.
have actually already seen this drop, is a part of excerpts from the great interview and conversation that I had with David Covington, who is the president CEO of RI International, in which we discussed why people who are like me, like Gareth, may not tell you when or if we are suicidal. And that was it. I really tout that, not just because David I was part of that conversation, and David was gracious enough to allow me to tell my story, but because it will hopefully spark more conversation about not the signs that a person is suicidal, but the why
Yeah,
behind it.
because this common question that I've been asked and you've been asked, which is, what are the signs that you are
Yeah,
suicidal?
and
What are the
that
signs
is
that
the
anyone's
wrong
suicidal?
question. And so hopefully watch some of what David Covington and I talked about, because we want to become comfortable with having uncomfortable conversations. So this is where we're going. So tell people what they need to start looking for, Gareth.
Okay, so it will be based around Stephanie's feed on LinkedIn. You will see twice a week at the very least snippets of conversations past between me and Stephanie, also with Stephanie and other people. Talking about all sorts of topics, and we're trying to stir up enthusiasm for further conversation. So
Mm-hmm.
you should see them dropping. I would appreciate it if you read them, because we're going to carry on doing the streaming anyway, but we would like it very much if we can also push out there some of the topics we covered in the past, because we've had some humdingers of conversations covering all of this stuff, and I think we don't want you to miss out. There've been really good stuff there. So what I would say to you is, watch out, comment if you can,
Mm-hmm.
reshare. That would be very useful. And if you like Stephanie's content, please go to her profile on LinkedIn and then click on the bell so you don't miss out on any other output that you may find actually really helps you uh, understand both how other people work and even how you work. And do you know what? You, I'm talking about you, madam, or you, sir. Any of you out there that have been thinking things and thinking I can't possibly share that with anybody, maybe this will help you achieve the level playing field, so you can tell people and you can get the support that you really need. And it's not weakness to require support. It's actually quite a strength, because what you're doing is you're overcoming prejudice. You're overcoming those thoughts put upon you by your locality or the people around you, that somehow you should keep this all to yourself, keep it all buttoned up, mustn't mention a word, and suffer in silence. There is no need. We can move beyond this. We're no longer Neanderthal. We can move into the 21st century and enjoy each other's company and support each other when we feel that we're not quite up to the mark. It is an achievement. I'm very proud to say that Stephanie has been and I have been supporting each other and will continue to do so. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying that you guys can support each other too. It'd just be more evidence that there is a way forward, that we don't have to just cope. We can
Right.
thrive. We can
And
thrive.
look for new people. We're going to have more guests and some more interesting conversations lie ahead. So look for other content that Gareth and I are going to put out that's shortened to give you a snippet, but also come back and see us on Fridays when we drop, and have live conversations with interesting people and who are well qualified and very well respected members of their field.
Okay. One note is on the week of the 1st to the 8th. I'm afraid I'm taking some very well earned time off. But other than
Right.
that, we'll be continuing beyond that. And look, Stephanie, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
Uh-huh. And
It is
thank
an
you for
honor.
bringing me along in spaces that I would ordinarily have not inhabited.
Well, there you
Because
go.
Yeah.
That sounds very dodgy, Stephanie. But
No, because you know that
whatever spaces
ordinarily
you
I wouldn't
inhabit in
do
your
it.
own time.
Yeah, when we met and you said, Stephanie, let's do live, I was like, no, I'm not doing anything live. I'm
No,
not
no,
doing that. You know, I
no.
don't do that.
So
But you have brought me out of my own
I
shell.
broke your live cherry.
Oh my God, Karen. Okay. You know, I'm in America now. We can't say things like this, but yeah,
Cherry's a perfectly respected word.
okay.
You know,
But yeah, so I
when
have
you
you
first
brought
pluck
me out of
the
my
cherry from the
shell.
tree, there, out of your shell, as if you were some sort of mollusk, but you're not. Uh, uh, Guys, it's been an honor. I just want to wish everybody a very, very safe and productive week, and of course, good mental health. Bye bye.
Yes. Bye.
Good
Bye, everybody.